Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started, and just want to say thank you so much for joining us and supporting Med Mentors. We're so excited to have you. And if you haven't had a chance to check out our Facebook page and Instagram, just make sure that you give a follow so you can stay up to date on all of our events that are happening. So our event today, we are going to be discussing balance in medical school, which is such a big topic, and it's not really discussed, and I'm so excited to have our panelists here who are just going to give us some knowledge about how they do it, and I'm excited because I feel like I'm going to learn some stuff as well from them. So if our panelists feel comfortable about coming on camera. Amazing. Hi everyone. Great. We have a pretty big group here today, so we are going to get so much information. So if you want to come on and say your name, where you go to school, and maybe a fun fact about you just to get started. Whoever wants to jump on first.
I'll go. My name is Denali. I go to Medical University of the Americas. Fun fact about me. Cannot think of anything in particular, but I play the piano, so.
That is a fun fact. Don't sell yourself short. I feel like most of us wish that we could play the piano. Also, real quick, Indy and I are the project managers for Med Mentors. So if you have any direct questions, just make sure to give us you can DM us on chat here or send us an email. Sorry, Kelsey, and I saw that you unmiked. Do you want to go ahead?
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kelsey Rushlow. I am an MS2, also at Medical Universities of the Americas with Denali. A fun fact about me is that I surf when I'm not in school. So there we go.
That's great. I wish I could do that. I'm not coordinated enough. Sadie, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Sadie. I am a medical student first year at the University of Vermont. And a fun fact about me is that we're on spring break right now, which is pretty awesome.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your spring break to talk with us. We all know that the time is short with stuff to do. Maria, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. I'm a fourth-year medical student at Seba University School of Medicine, and fun fact about me is I'm an identical twin.
Alrighty, I guess I'm last. My name is Reef Dia, and I'm a fourth-year medical student at Kansas City University. A fun fact, I have 3 small dogs, and they're all dachshund mixes.
I feel like none of us would be opposed if they came on camera, but just that's great. It's so great to meet all of you, and we're really excited to get this started. Indy, you have?
Perfect. Yeah. So my name is Indy or Indibir, and I'm a second-year medical student at the University of Washington. Fun fact, I'm studying for STEP right now. I don't know if that's a fun fact. That's a depressing fact, but so thank you, panelists, for sharing a little bit about yourselves. So just to get us started, I figured I'd ask a question. So tell us about suggestions to stay healthy, both physically and mentally, during the challenging times in medical school. How do you guys balance that?
I don't mind answering that. I know that for me, something that helps me is I love weightlifting. It's a good way to get out of any type of frustration you may have, whether you don't do well on a test or you get super overwhelmed. It is the best way I found, at least for me, just to get out that extra frustration. So that's what I like to do. I don't know about anybody else on the panel.
Yeah, I'm the same. I usually try to work out at least 30 minutes a day because there's a lot of stress involved in med school, and it helps relieve some of that stress that's involved. And the other way I try to stay healthy is I do salads alternate days. So I don't have to have a salad every day, but at least I do one meal, a salad every alternate day. So it's not too bad.
I'm a vegan, so it's pretty much rabbit food every day. So I can't do that. But yeah, like Kelsey, I used to, because we are in an accelerated program, so like Maria, so we don't have that much time because we have classes from 8 to 5, and then we have to study on our own too. So I used to run every day last semester, and then the semester after that couldn't do that, so fell a little bit behind. But yeah, Netflix, which is not that the greatest, but Bridgerton is good.
One way that I try to stay as balanced as I can is I like try to take a lunch break every day, whether that be 30 minutes or 45 minutes or sometimes even an hour, where I turn my computer off or just close it, and try to like engage with my peers. We're on campus on and off now, so taking the time to sit and eat lunch and talk to people and like have some face-to-face interaction has been super nice, and it's kind of something to like look forward to. It's a nice refresher for the afternoon. So finding time to spend a little face-to-face time with someone is a great way to stay kind of focused and refresh yourself halfway through the day.
I would say besides working out, eating healthy, I think it's important to learn how to say no. If you're tired, if you need to take a nap, I say go for it. If you and your friends want to hang out, do it. Because you can't be studying all the time. And I think part of physical health is also mental health. So you need to take care of that.
Thank you. That's really important, especially just trying to stay sane. And I like when you said that physical health is mental health. And I think that people are starting to realize that, and that medicine is not the old medicine. We're kind of slowly but surely incorporating those lifestyles in curriculum as a generation, which I love hearing that. Also, a majority of the people who signed up are on post-bac, incoming medical students. Some are just throughout their college undergrad. So a question that came up a lot when people submitted to attend was, how do you avoid burnout? And I think that's this big looming question that comes in, and everyone knows Dr. Burnout is a thing. How do you specifically avoid it with the amount of expectation that medical school offers?
Something that someone told me when I first signed up for medical school was that medical school is something that you're doing, not who you are. So what's important to me is like, I actually, like, I think someone else had said it earlier, like I do take, I think it was Sadie, I believe, you do have to walk away. So something I do to avoid burnout is I literally will just get up and I'll leave my computer. I'll go for a walk with my dogs, or I call it like a spa day, but like really just involves me, like, just doing like a face mask, like relaxing. If you're studying 24/7, it can be a bit much. So it's important to kind of balance your life in that sense. Know when to walk away for sure.
Well, since everyone know that Kelsey and I, we go to the same school, we're also in the same class, and we study together every day. I think I talk to Kelsey more than my own family members. But what we do together is, even though it's online and she lives in Boston, I live in New York, what we do is we would screen share, and we would do like YouTube videos kind of things. And like we would, okay, I know this is not fun, but it is kind of fun for us. We do mind maps. We create mind maps. We have a software. It's called Xmind. And what we do is we make fun mind maps for whatever class. And I know it's not relaxing that much, but we found it was at the same time productive, as well as taking a little kind of break from our regular study schedule. And we would use those mind maps to curate in our package that we are making for our comp study, because we take comp in about 8 months. So that's what we do. But yeah, I know it has nothing to do with like technically taking your mind away, but at the same time, since you are like, especially if you're in a program like ours, which is super accelerated, you kind of have to find that balance between, yes, you need to take a break, at the same time you need to make yourself productive at the same time. So it's very difficult. So I'm glad we found this, and it's been working out. We had 6 classes to take last semester, and we were able to survive because of that. So it might not be fun for everyone, but
I think an important thing to remember about med school is that there is a certain level of like expectation that there is going to be times and days that you're tired and that you just need a break. And I think somebody asked in the chat that said, any tips for not feeling guilty or for feeling guilty about not studying. I think just taking the time to recognize that you're not a machine, as much as it seems like the med culture really forces you to be that way. There's always like that person that is in the library until 3 o'clock in the morning every day and gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning and then does all these crazy things. And it's really easy to compare yourself, but really taking a step back and looking at the situation and recognizing that you are pushing yourself mentally, emotionally, physically in a lot of ways, and taking one night off or 2 nights off or whatever it is, and just like watching a movie or going out to dinner and doing something that makes you happy in the long run is way more cost effective than grinding yourself to the bone and having like a breakdown and having to take 2 months off or 3 months off or whatever it is. So staying in touch with how you're feeling. Coming from me, I take Friday nights off every week. I don't study. I finish class, I go home, I take a nap, I go to the gym, and then I like hang out and watch a movie. Finding a night that works for you, that's like your personal time. That's been super great for me to avoid burnout. And then like the guilt about studying thing, it's easy to say you feel guilty, but at the same time, like curling up into bed at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is like the most amazing feeling ever. So just doing that and just saying, you know what, like I need it, and not feeling guilty and just being like putting up a mental block to the whole like guilt thing has worked great for me sometimes. But I guess like just staying in touch with how you're feeling is the best way to do it.
I mean, honestly, after 4 years, I could tell you that I feel like every day my friends and I will say, I'm burnt out, I'm tired. And I think just accepting the fact that you're tired and you have a lot to do is part of it. You have to realize that what we do, we knew exactly what we were signing up for. We have to study all the time. We're going to be working all the time. And you just have to acknowledge that, accept that, take breaks when you can, figure out what you do like and what you don't like, learn how to say no, setting boundaries. And these are things that like my husband can tell you I still don't do. It's hard, but you have to do it. And how to not feel guilty about not studying, that's difficult. You will. I think that's part of it, and that's okay. Like Sadie said, that she takes Fridays off, and I have friends that took Sundays off, and I always felt that pressure that how come they were getting enough done that they could take that time off. It is okay, whatever your schedule is. Do what you feel is right at the moment. Take a nap. If you want to study till 3 a.m., you think you can handle it, that's fine. Whatever makes things easier for you, so that the next day you feel like you actually did what you wanted. And I think that's totally okay. You could be working out, you could be laying around, you could study on your bed. For all I care, like it doesn't matter what it is. Do what you want to do and don't compare yourself to other people, because I think part of burnout is seeing everyone else in medicine around you just running around and you're like, why am I not doing that? And I think that's one of the things that's important to, just go with whatever you're capable of, because we're all capable of different things, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. I think even like I am studying for my CK, I'm taking my CK in 2 weeks. So I've been feeling really burnt out because I'm like reviewing and reviewing and reviewing because CK is in 2 weeks. But so like last week, I just was like, okay, I don't want to do any more questions right now because I was like, okay, I have to take the exam in 2 weeks and now I don't want to see questions. Like I'm going to sit there for 9 hours doing questions. So might as well just take this week off and not do questions, just do some flashcards here and there. Then do questions now, and then on exam day feel so burnt out that I don't want to do questions. Like that would. So it's always to see like how's it going to affect you in the future. So even in taking the time off now, and you see okay in the future it will pay out better. It's better than you trying to push yourself right now and then having it impact you negatively in the future. So like sleep, like you think, oh, I'll not sleep right now, and then on next day on the exam day you're like completely tired and everything's just like swimming in front of the screen because you didn't get proper sleep the previous day. So I think that's important too.
If I could add one thing to that, that I think has been really underscored throughout all of the panelists. This is something that I suggest for people studying for the MCAT as well, is finding times that work for you is really important. Like, personally speaking, I am not a morning person. I cannot study in the morning time. So I dedicate time in the afternoon and early evening to studying, and get really quality studying done versus quantity of studying. If I find myself like rereading the same line over and over and over again, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I need to take a break. I need to walk away. If it's starting to get late, like going to bed. But finding times that actually work for you and like your brain is functioning at a level that it's actually processing the information you're trying to learn is a much better way to retain information than just like, force studying for 12 hours a day. If you're not learning and you're just staring at the page, you're really wasting your time in a sense. So finding times that actually work for you is key.
Everyone nodded, and I'm a morning studier, and I feel like I'm a lone island in this. Sorry, Indy, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, thank you. I think that's all great advice. And it's funny, once you enter this profession, it really seems like from day one, from your MS1 year, you're learning how to manage your time and really figure out what works for you and what doesn't. And it looks, and you've seen this in all of our panelists, everyone has different things that they look forward to and different things that help them relax. So I think the most important thing is figuring out what works for you. And that's a trial and error process that's going to change throughout the 4 years. And to be honest, it's going to be something that all of us as professionals are going to be using a lot. And so another question that came up from the people attending this event was, how do you manage relationships outside of romantic relationships, or maybe mention romantic relationships as well, but how do you manage your different relationships in your life, whether that be your family or your friends? Everyone knows that we're studying all the time and we have a lot of commitments, but how do we balance that sort of thing?
You know what, I think that is one of the hardest things. So my husband and I did 3 years of long distance. So I'm from Pennsylvania, moved to Missouri. I think it is important to learn that it's okay for you to say no. You're going to have to explain yourself to friends all the time and family. I have to do this. I'm sorry, I can't. And don't beat yourself up for that, because it is what it is, unfortunately. And you want people to be in your life that understand that. I think the bottom line is understanding what your priorities are, and having people around you that understand that is key. And you know what? We're so busy. You can't just be screwing around and being passive aggressive. You have to learn how to communicate. You really do. And I think, once you get into medical school, I mean, hopefully we're all adults. We have to learn how to communicate our feelings and what we want. And I think that is one of the most important things, because we don't really have time to go around that. And sometimes you just have to learn how to walk away, just like with everything else. It's studying. You have to learn how to walk away and then come back to it. And that whole 5 love languages thing, it's the same with friendship, whether it's relationship. Someone may react or do things a certain way that's completely opposite from yours. You have to just understand that, I think. It's like I said, we don't really have the time to waste to try to stress over that, because we have other things that we have to do. And when you find those people, though, that are willing to stick by you and support you, you hold on to that and know that they're backing you up the entire time. And that's great. And that's totally okay.
I think that's a great point. I wanted to add to that. With wearing the white coat comes a lot of responsibility and comes a lot of sacrifice. And unfortunately, and I think probably a good amount of people who are doctors probably say that's, your social relationships they lack sometimes. And it's not because of anything we do specifically, it's that people just can't wrap their minds around how much work goes into it, right? I was very honest with my friends up front before I even started medical school. They know me, they know what I wanted with my life. I said, I wanted to become a doctor. This is what I'm going to do. I looked them all in the eye and I was like, this is what my schedule is going to be. I'm not ignoring you. I just have class all day. I have exams on these days. with that being said, I mean, you can be in relationships, you can have fun, but there is that big balance factor that does come into it. And the people you have in your life, you have to make sure that they understand you and what's best for you and what you want. So that's my biggest takeaway from that.
Just about, I mean, it's reiterating if I say that, but yeah, if you find people that your family members or anyone you're involved with, if they are not understanding it, yeah, just walk away. And because you don't have that kind of time, like Reefy and Kelsey said, you don't have that kind of time or the energy at the end of the day after going through all this information, lecture material, and everything else, to mend those things. So if they don't understand, you don't have time to fix those things, yeah, walk away for a bit, come back to the problem when you have time. Unfortunately, it might be taking longer than other people, and if they don't understand it, that is not your fault, and don't beat yourself up. That, I mean, that's pretty much reiterating, but yeah, I do it myself, so.
Thank you. I think that's such an important question. And I think that a really big stereotype is that relationships don't last in med school. And I think that they last if you want them to last. And if your partner, the people in your life, are on the same page as you emotionally and want to support you. And I think it's really important to kind of recognize that, and that it is a rumor. So don't be scared. If you go in and you want to put the work into it and they want to put the work into it, then things are going to work out. Another question that came up quite a bit is, I just had it. Do you acquire any hobbies or activities in medical school? Like, what do you do outside of medical school? Or did you lose anything while you were in medical school? Like you lost all your hobbies because you were studying, or what you wish that you could have done differently? Kind of just touch on any of those if they apply to you.
I think every medical school schedule is very different. It sounds like some of the panelists have a much more class intensive schedule. University of Vermont Lerner College of Medicine is an active curriculum base, so we spend the majority of our time outside of class. Typically, we only have about 15 hours of class a week, if that, usually a little less, but we spend, generally speaking, 7 hours preparing for the next day. So it's different, and it feels like a very different way to approach medical school. If you're an active learner, it can be great. If you're not an active learner, it can be very challenging. But for me, fortunately, it provided the opportunity to continue doing the hobbies that I really enjoy doing. I like to paint and snowboard and spend time with my friends and like going out for dinner, which obviously hasn't been happening in the same capacity in this last year. But finding a curriculum style that works for the things that you like to do is really helpful. That's one thing that was really cool for me, was coming to a school that supported the things that I liked doing, and the schedule allowed me to continue doing that kind of activity. University of Vermont's also a very active campus. And so a lot of my friends that I've made have been through things like snowboarding and like hiking and going rock climbing and stuff like that. So we tend to kind of congregate in those little groups and do fun things like that outside of class with other students who have a similar schedule. So that was cool. I wouldn't say that I lost anything into med school. I've definitely gained a lot of cool new things, and my classmates are from very diverse backgrounds and have exposed me to a lot of cool new things. So I wouldn't qualify it as losing. Things will definitely be in transition though.
Yeah, so our school is going to be starting in an island, St. Kitts and Nevis. So when we go back, hopefully we are starting in September, I believe. For that semester, we're going to be going back, and looking forward to hike and go trail exploring, because I've heard there's like amazing trails. And
Denali, you got muted. Can you?
sorry.
Just backtrack about 10 seconds, and then I think that's good.
No, I'm just excited to go hiking because that's one of my favorite hobbies. So kind of the COVID is killing into what the kind of fun things that I do. So, but I'm really excited. But yeah, hopefully that we can incorporate into break times, little mini breaks that we get. But yeah, definitely piggybacking on what Sadie said, that yeah, you have to, when you pick a school, it is important to pick a curriculum that actually supports your likes and your like I don't want to say lifestyle, because this is a different lifestyle you are choosing. It's very different. But I would say at least somewhat go with your beliefs and what you think, how being a medical professional is gonna mold you into a future. You're gonna be a different person anyway at the end of the day. So what kind of person you see in yourself, you want to make sure that your school is supporting that person that you want to be in the future. So when you pick a school, and also give yourself that opportunity so that you're in a position that you can pick your school, you know? So that's why it is important that's why when you're studying, especially for MCATs, you have to give it in all. Give everything that you have. Make those sacrifices now so you don't have to be limited when you have your choices. Same thing, like when you're in med school, you have to give it all, because when you pick your residencies, you need them to pick you, right? So what are they picking us on? Grades or scores. So if you don't have them at a good level, you're going to be limited. The same thing. So yeah, you it is, you have to, if you sacrifice now, yes, you have those options. So give yourself those options so you can do what you love to do and not burn yourself out. It is the key for burning yourself out at the end of the day, because you have limited choices. And then you have to go to a school at the end of the day because you want to pursue your dream one way or the other, right? So you will sacrifice some of the things, but that's when the burnout begins. That's the beginning of burnout, like piggybacking on to the other topic we were discussing. But yeah, but I'm sorry, I got a question.
And you know what? Even if, let's say, you don't have that choice, you only get into 1 or 2 medical schools and you don't have that, that is completely fine, because so what, I start residency in about a month and a half, and the schedule sucks. It is honestly worse than medical school. I mean, it's better because you're not studying, but it just translates to this, what, I guess, in-person learning. You're there 12, 14-hour, 15-hour days, and I think regardless of whatever that curriculum is that you end up at, it is important to stick to whatever those hobbies are. You may lose them from time to time, and that's totally okay. But you have to understand that you should try and go back to them because you're going to need that. And that's where time management comes in, and it's easier said than done. I'm still awful at it. I always have been. Um, Even if, like example, I was a makeup artist in college. I absolutely love doing makeup. And so, you know what I did? If I didn't have time, I would do my makeup 5 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes every day. And that's just something to keep me going what I love, relaxes myself. And even if it's something that's small, going out with your friends once a week, just being able to tell yourself that I'm going to do it, I think that translates all the way to residency and working afterwards. Because when you're working, what, 12 to 15-hour days, you don't get the luxury of being able to, I can't pick my curriculum for residency, regardless of Stanford, St. Chris, or some rural place. It's going to be ridiculous. And starting that habit of not neglecting what you love, I think is the most important part. Regardless of where you're at, what it is, what year, stick to it. And that's okay. You got to let yourself do it.
I have a follow-up for you because someone just popped on with a dog as their photo, but especially in medical school and especially during the pandemic, a lot of people have gotten dogs. I have a dog. Is it possible to have a pet during medical school without neglecting it? Like, what is your experience with that?
Yes.
You have 3, which is
Totally. Yes, I have 3, and my third one, I got, um, halfway through my first year of medical school. He was a foster. I fell in love. Can't foster ever again, because I just will keep all of them. It is totally okay. Again, it comes down to your priorities. What do you want to do? What's important to you? You can study 13 hours of the day, sleep for 2, study again. That doesn't matter if your priorities aren't straight. If you're not concentrating, you're not focusing, because again, you need sleep, you need to hang out with your friends, you need to take care of things. You can't just be a studying zombie all the time. You're a person that, like Kelsey said, we may be doing this, but this isn't who we are. So when it comes to the dogs, absolutely, you have to make time for it. It's not the same as having a kid, obviously, and I don't have one. I don't know if anybody else does, but my friends that are in residency that have kids, granted, having a dog is, like I said, not as big as a responsibility, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to learn how to balance that. You're gonna have to learn how to take care of yourself, your spouse, and the children. The same with the dog. I mean, and dogs will love you unconditionally. Honestly, I think I really liked having my dog around because I could come home and he'll just lick my face up. I'm crying over an exam and he doesn't care. He's like, take me on a walk, whatever. I still love you. And I think that's okay. And you know what? If you feel like you can't take care of your dog at the time, like I always said, that's what parents are for. Ship it over to your parents for a little until you can kind of get a balance and feel for things. And if you're okay with that dog, then absolutely. But I think it shouldn't be a factor of whether you have one or not. Again, it's priorities. It's what set the things that are important for you, and it'll work.
I think another interesting thing on the whole priority conversation that somebody actually brought up in the chat too is the pass-fail curriculum. I can't speak to anyone else's medical school experience, but my program is pass-fail, with a 70 being considered a pass and a 70 up to 75 is a marginal pass, which does require some like punitive action. But if you get above that, it literally counts for the same as a 100. It's not recorded internally what you actually get. We're not a ranked class. They have no record of who's in the top 10%, who's in the top 25%. Now that's pass fail is also, moving forward with step. And there's changes to the 3rd year evaluations as well. It definitely allows for more time in the day. At my school specifically, there are students that study for their 100. There are students that study for the 70. It's up to what works for you, I think. There are gambles either way. You can study for the 70 and not get the 70 and then fail the course and have to do it all over again. There are students that study for the 100 and they get the 100 and it doesn't matter. They retained, or maybe they feel really great about it, but it doesn't do anything for them in the long run, in terms of like honors or anything along those lines. So that has allowed for more wiggle room, I think. It definitely has for me. Our class tends to score really high, which is great. But, there are students that take that time that they would be spending studying and studying and studying to try to get the highest score that they possibly could and beat everyone else in the class. And they go for a walk, they take their dog out, they do something else with that time. They invest in themselves in a different way. So I think the pass-fail curriculum certainly allows for a different approach to the way that you study and the way that you rank your scores.
I think it froze for a second. Yeah, definitely. I also have a pass-fail curriculum and I find it very helpful. I was curious, do any of the panelists have a curriculum that's not pass-fail?
Yeah, ours isn't. I think it's moving, but I mean, like I said, I'm a 4th year, so even like I think it may be transitioning, so I never got any of that stuff. But
ours
I
just
think
transitioned, yeah, like the 2nd
I
year.
think a lot of them are. Yeah, I think a lot of them are, which is fantastic. I think mental health wise, that is amazing because honestly, I mean, like I said, even in residency, you're not going to get a grade, right? You work hard or you don't. And I think these grades, I mean, to a certain extent, you have to learn stuff for these standardized exams. But I really do feel like a lot of these numbers, you don't learn as much as you do when you're in your clinical years. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't know what happened first and second year. I can't tell you a single grade that I got. Does it matter? No. Even during residency applications, we're like, oh, did you pass this, whatever? They really don't care. I mean, I can see why now, even, level one, maybe level two will be pass fail, because really at the end of the day, it's you learn as much as you can, you work as hard as you can. And for each person, they take away something different. And as long as you work hard and you care about your patients, and I really I feel like that should be it, right? But yeah, I mean, pass fail, my God, I feel like my class we would have been less stressful. And I'm so glad for you guys that's transitioning, because I wish I had that.
Yeah, it's definitely been great. There's been some interesting response to it. It's great for some students, like for students who study hard, but test taking is challenging. But they're great with people, and like that's where our grades come from, are more like kind of these like subjective patient interactions. And then there are the students that are really, 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 really strong with exam taking skills and nail every exam. And we're kind of a little bit disappointed to hear that that wasn't going to be as strong of a metric on their evaluations. So you approach it from a different perspective. Schools are obviously very open with the way that they grade and the way that you will be evaluated. That information is pretty readily available to you. If not through the school, typically, like you can find that information on forums outside of it. So if you're not the type of student that would benefit from a pass-fail curriculum, that is something to consider. And if you are, then another thing just to conceptualize when you're making your school list.
I think, was Maria about to say something earlier? I wasn't sure.
No, I was just going to say that no, my school wasn't pass fail. I think it was 70%, but we got a grade. It was on as transcript. You get a grade point average. Actually, when I was looking for medical school rotations, some of them actually wanted the grade point average for med school and my step one score. So, and those were like the criterias to apply just for rotation, like to just rotate in the hospital for a month. So it just depends. So I don't know if pass fail would be good, I guess, in school, but then if you want rotations and they have someone else that has a score and you don't have a score, I don't know how that would make a difference. Yeah.
That's a good point. I would just like to add, like, you guys have to think, it is one thing picking med schools, right? But it's another thinking long-term and down the line, right? Like, it's one thing to get in, it's one thing to do well in school, but cool, now that you're done with med school, now what, right? So you need to make sure the program you're looking for suits what you want to do down the line, right? Because for me, I personally would like to become a surgeon, right? So my grades are probably going to matter when I go like apply and whatnot. So that's something I need to consider. And that's when I looked at my program, that's why I picked MUA, because that was something I knew that they had. So I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah, just to add one thing. Yeah. So depending on what your interest is, also because we've been looking, if you want to do a rotation in a different hospital or a different school, that's the other thing, because they have no idea how you've been doing, right? So the only thing they can see is something that's on a paper at the end of the day. So that's how you're going to get evaluated, you like it or not. So they will pick a person with a 4.0 above 3.5, most likely, compared to a person who has a pass or fail. And if the problem with pass or fail when it comes to those kind of rotations is that you don't know how good you are unless you actually go and work, but you don't get the opportunity to show how good you are, right? So that's why it is important, just to confirm what Maria and Kelsey was just saying. Yeah, it depends on what you want.
Yeah, I think it's like one of those things that every school's a little different. Typically, like 108 US medical schools are all pass fail for first and second year. It's very different based on like where you go to school, who you go to school with. It is something to consider, but I from my experience, I've had a great time with it. UVM matches really well for pretty much every year. It's not something that deterred me personally.
And I mean, truthfully,
Yeah.
too, with like residency, your actual grade the first 2 years, honestly, unless you failed like 5 of them, don't matter. What matters is your step 1, step 2 score. So pass, fail, or if it's a grade, whatever, works best for you to motivate you or whatever it may be, the bottom line that you have to get to is to do well in your board scores. So even if you're like just barely passing, but you kick ass studying for step 1 and step 2, that's fine. That's all that, honestly, that really is all that matters. And that's coming from, I have friends that match surgery, neuro, OBGYN. I mean, I matched peds. So like, I feel like I got lucky that they're a lot more forgiving when it comes to scores, but asking other friends, I, sure, pass, fail your exams, whatever, but do well on boards. And that's the score that really does matter.
Yeah, definitely. I think nonetheless, it'll be very interesting to see how curriculum shift over these next few years, as well as these tests. So that'll be a changing landscape. A question I had though was I'd like to give a shout out to people who, I think med students typically get the rap that they're type A personalities and like, let's study, let's get this done, like, check that list off. But, there's classmates that we have, and there's people out there that kind of tend to not study and they tend to take more breaks. And I think all of us can get lazy at times. And so what sorts of things have you guys done to get back on track or not take too much of a break? I know we've talked about taking a break is so important, but what's the flip side of that?
Accountability, I think, is a big one. I think having friends, because I'm definitely okay. And here's the thing, I'm more in the lazy spectrum, not the lazy but gets good grades kind, the lazy and then like does terrible and then I kick myself later on. Is to have friends that will support you and be like, dude, you got to get up and go. Like, we have to study, we got to do it. And after, like, you know what I mean? Some people just need that like push to get started, and you get going. It's really that lull after you're like, I've been studying for so long, I'm so over this. You have to have people that can push you. If you need a calendar on a freaking wall, writing it down, it doesn't matter what it is. Figure out sticky notes. I had sticky notes everywhere. Figure out whatever it is that'll keep you organized. And you have to think about what are you doing? Like, what is the purpose of this? What is it for the long run? If you're gonna slack off now, why are you even in this? Honestly, like, this thing is not, you can't just sprint this. This is forever. So you have to just kind of always keep that in mind. And I think mentality also plays a factor into that besides just accountability.
Yeah, I think I like, as soon as I get like my school schedule, or if I have an exam coming up, I immediately put it like, I literally put the date down and write, okay, these are the 3 things I finish every day. And then at the end of the day, I like literally check it off. But that's the only way I've seen that. So then when I don't check it off, I'm like, oh, like, I kind of feel bad that I haven't checked this off now. So I kind of push myself to finish it at the end of the day or something like that. And another way I found is you find another way to see the same material. So if you're seeing it like reading a textbook, I do some videos instead. Or if you're doing videos, you do flashcards instead. Because if you do that, it's like the same thing, you're reviewing it, but in a different way. So it doesn't seem that boring. Or sometimes I just like do some questions. So at least okay, what I'm learning, I'm kind of retaining some of the information. Because sometimes if you just sit for 12 hours and you're reading a textbook, you don't even know how much you remember if you don't do questions in between. So I think if you break it up like that, it's easier to stay accountable. You feel more motivated to keep going rather than just sitting there and passively kind of reading the question, studying kind of thing. So that helps.
I think if you find an accountability buddy, pick someone in your class, be like, you're my person, like, we're going to go study together. Denali was my person for that. We would share screens on our Macs and we would literally do questions until we fell asleep. It was that having that other person, hearing their voice, being like, you need to study, like, come on, like, one more question. I think someone said earlier, it's not a sprint, right? Medical school is a marathon, not a sprint. It's a long journey, and it's never ending, and it can feel like that. And trust me, like, I'm there, I feel like it never ends. But pick somebody, have them be your person, be like, you're the person I pick, like, let's do some questions, like, let's hammer this out together, just to keep you accountable, push you along. I think it's the best thing you guys can do once you get to med school.
Yeah, and some days we will be very, very tired because we start the day with like, okay, we're gonna hit 100 questions today. So what we would do is we would explain, okay, why we chose this answer. And funny thing is, if we choose the wrong answer, Kelsey and I tend to give the same wrong explanation why this answer is right. So sometimes that happens when you're really, really tired. But that moment you need to realize, okay, we gotta stop. So you gotta help each other out. So that helps too, because sometimes when you're studying on your own, when you hit that point, there's no one to stop you, right? So when you have a person that would help you with that, that's actually going to be useful, as well as you're not going to remember the wrong information. So yeah, I would say picking a study buddy is actually that person to go along, because it's a long journey. It's going to go forever. This is medical. Once you start your medical journey, I think everyone can attest to this. You're learning forever. You're taking exams forever. You have to constantly keep yourself updated. So if you find that person to go this very, very long journey for the rest of your life, it's a good thing, and you're going to be very lucky if you find the right person. So
One way that I stay on track is that our school, like I had mentioned, is an active learning curriculum, which translates into when we're in class, we are in small groups with providers. All of our professors are also active in the teaching hospital at the University of Vermont Medical Center. So they're taking time out of their day to come and spend with us. To do like application questions, basically. So you have to pre-learn the material to show up to class and sound like you know what you're talking about. And you learn pretty quick if you show up underprepared. Like, it is a very uncomfortable situation because you're in a small room with like maybe 5 other people and a physician who is asking you questions directly, and they know if you don't know it. They're very supportive. And if you have obviously made the effort to try to learn the material and you're struggling with a difficult concept, they won't shame you for it. But if it's obvious that you just slacked off and didn't do the pre-work, they will make note of that. And so one experience of that is usually enough to like deter you from ever doing it again. But I do have a great group of friends that we all study with together. So I think the friendship study accountability thing is huge for sure. And then also like checking in and quizzing yourself often and seeing how am I doing with this material. And if you're like bombing all of your personal study quizzes and stuff, that's a pretty good indicator that you might need to reevaluate how you're approaching the material.
Thank you all. Those are such great pointers. And honestly, I feel like I've done a little bit of all of that. So it makes me feel that I'm doing okay. I'm going to have 1 or 2 people who have maybe decided on a specialty. I know that one of our panelists just matched, so she has something to say as well. But what advice do you have on choosing a specialty, and kind of tying that into the theme of how do you kind of manage that with like work-life balance if maybe you're choosing a specialty that requires a lot of like things to do besides just like med school, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. So I matched into peds in Philadelphia. I chose peds because I think peds people are just different. I don't like adults at all. I hate adults. If you're 25 and over, please don't come to me. I don't care. But I really do think during 3rd year, you will figure it out. You'll have a crisis around February, March of 3rd year when applications for rotations come up. But I think my best advice is this will be your career forever at this point, and you want to wake up happy with what you're doing. Even if you're tired, even if your kid is screaming at your face to get up, you want to be able to get up and be able to go to work because you actually want to go to work. And I think when you actually get to do these rotations, you'll get that feeling. You'll also feel what specialty you vibe with a little bit more than another. Like I said, I don't like adults, and I knew that, I mean, my second choice was either OBGYN or psych, and honestly with OB, every time we had a delivery, I cared about the mom, but honestly, my eyes were always on the child. So you just have to go with your gut. And if you're a female wanting to go to surgery, I know it's a male dominant field. That does not matter. You go for whatever it is that your gut is telling you to do, and you go with that. And I think, don't let other people sway you. Some people will come up to you and say, you look more like or your mom's like, oh, why would you do primary care? Doesn't matter. Go with your gut, and go with whatever you actually are willing to spend 15 hours a day at work. If you're happy at the end of the 15 hours, even if you're freaking tired and you want to bang yourself against the wall, then that's okay. I think, that's no competition. I think that's one. And it's easier said than done, and you're going to cry over it during third year. That's fine. It'll get there. I promise.
So I also actually chose to do pediatrics eventually, but when I first went to med school, it was actually forensic pathology. So something that was completely nowhere near pediatrics. But then I did like an internship and I realized that, pathologists don't really see patients. And during med school, I realized during rotations, actually in third year, I realized, I actually like working with people. So I do something that's like gives me more face time with people. And then I realized I actually like working with kids better than adults. Same thing. If you're over 21, yeah, it's like I'd rather see the younger kids. So it's like, and then the only rotation I was excited to go spend extra time was pediatrics. Every other rotation I had to like literally drag myself out of bed just to be there. But like pediatrics, I remember once when the attending I was working with was like, oh, you can take the, I was like, no, I want to come in. She was like, you can take the day off. And I was literally like, I'll come in. It was like, so I didn't really bother that I had to study for shelf, none of that. It was just like, I wanted to be there. So that's how I knew that pediatrics was the specialty for me. So
Yeah, thank you everyone for telling us a little bit about your specialties. I know some of us are more ahead in figuring that out, and hopefully we can figure it out by the time we apply to our residency. So good luck to everyone with that. And I just want to thank all the panelists today for giving us some wisdom on the work-life balance in medical school. And so we'll be closing now, but before we leave, we do have a brief presentation. Thankfully, Kelsey and Denali had put something together. And so we'll let you guys take it away.
You want me to share the screen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you guys see?
Yes, we can. Looks great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Kelsey, you want to start?
Yeah, so we just kind of did a basic overview of like what our day-to-day life was as a medical student. By now you guys already know myself and you already know Denali, so I'll let Denali tell you a little bit more about us specifically.
So like I said, we are online these days. So we start to go on campus in September, and we will be going into our fourth when we started. And that's the fourth semester before we go into hospitals. So yeah, we are cutting it pretty close, but hopefully it will be good. And we are, I don't want to brag, but yeah, we are ranking high in our class because it's graded. We get grades, and we found some time to do some extracurricular activities too. So we publish research. We published 7 papers in medical journals last semester. And then I'm the class president and Kelsey's a VP. And we became part of Med Mentors too last December, I think. Yeah, we signed up and we thought it was something cool to do other than just studying all the time.
So we just completed our first year. This is kind of like an overview of like what our class schedule looked like. We were telling you earlier that we were like in class all day and like it was kind of hard to find time We get an hour lunch break. It's that one lovely little white gap that we have. And then if you guys see, our schedule varies from like day to day. It's never the same. Typically, a school day is from 8 o'clock in the morning to about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Eastern time. For us, in terms of waking up, we'll start at like a 7:30 to be at class for 8 a.m. All of us online via Zoom. And then sometimes we'll finish, in terms of a typical day with studying, study groups, extra responsibilities we might have at home. We normally wrap up our day about like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. Not always like that. That's an aggressive during exams time. I'm talking worst case scenario, guys. So don't be scared by that. Total hours studying, we try to put about 20 hours in if we can, and that's including like our in-class work. Normally sleep, we on during exam weeks, we do about like 4 to 6 hours. Other weeks we try to do 6 to 8 if we can.
So we like we said before, like we exercise, we try to exercise at least, but we had a very hectic semester last semester because we had 6 classes. So our first semester we had only 3 classes, and then in our second semester we got 6 classes. So that we just wrapped up our first year in med school. So it was really a big like it took a lot of time out of what we normally would do for fun, but yeah, we still found some time to watch Netflix and meet our friends. I know Kelsey went and met her friends came to her house. Yeah, and then we also called up our friends and we practiced clinical skills because our last final exam we had our patient standardized patient was our professors, so that was nerve-wracking. But to prepare for that, we just call up random people, as in like friends, not random people, to practice. So we did those things. But yeah, we try to make it fun as possible, even with the limited time we have. So I think with 6 classes, we did manage to do some of the stuff we love. And just to finish up, these are, I mean, we actually today we created our website. Like I said, we started doing research and we really liked it. And as international medical students, we have a much more adversity than students in the mainland. So we also thought about other medical students who are in especially in the Caribbean medical schools. So we came up with, on Tuesday, Kelsey and I, we created a Instagram page and it kind of took off. So today, the two of us, we spent like 6 hours and we created a website too. It's called International Medical Students Collaboration. So the purpose of this website is to collaborate international students, doctors, other basic science researchers all around the world, and publish their research, because we already have good contacts with publications, because we did publish like about 7 just within a span of 4 months. So we have a good reputation, so we want to use it to help other people who are trying to get published, and getting published is a big issue, especially in the medical community. So yeah, Kelsey, you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, like what Denali said, we literally just created it today. A lot of people had like found a need to, need assistance with research. So we were decent at it. So we figured, why don't we make a platform where doctors and medical students can be involved together and everyone can, help each other publish research. So you guys see the links below. Feel free to take a screenshot. We don't mind. Also, we have our personal contact information. And then I think Denali even has a website.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Sorry, that's our Instagram. So I don't know if you guys can see, but okay, sorry. It's like we just did it today. So it's pretty basic. You can, if you guys want, we don't charge anything. It's pretty much we are trying to help out as many people around the world, and we already got, so this is our Instagram. So if you guys want to take a look at, yeah, you don't have to be in med school, by the way. If you are involved in research and if you want to publish, you guys can contact our team, and you we can help you guys get published and do research if it's something that you want to add to your resume as a physician. It's important that you do medical research. So
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think we all appreciate the kind of snapshot into your life, as crazy as it is for everyone. Just want to close this by thanking you all for coming, and to know that we're going to be taking a couple months off of doing these panels. So we're going to be back in, I believe, July, because Indy and I are about to take our boards. So just kind of giving us some grace on that. But we're so excited, and we will see you all soon. And if you have any questions, please send us an email. And then I know that some of the panelists have put their contact information in the chat and then on the presentation that we can also post as well. So thank you all, and have a great night. Enjoy your rest of your week and your weekend.
thank you guys for showing up.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks to the panelists.
Bye, everyone.
Good luck in
Thank you.
residency.
Thank you.
Good luck on your exams.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exams.
Thanks, guys. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.